Hi there, my name is Gracie, and I have a profound love for beachside jogs. The soothing crash of waves against the shore fills me with a unique sense of vitality that I can't resist. I hit the beach about twice a week, considering it's a mere 30-minute drive away. The sunset paints the beach with an exquisite calmness, which contrasts with its mysterious vibe when darkness takes over. Trust me, those crashing waves seem to grow louder and the sand colder. I never fail to bring along my flashlight, just in case things get too dark. I must admit that I'm no believer in the strange danger concept, but when you're alone at night, a twinge of nervousness is inevitable. On this particular evening, my anxious roommate was as concerned as always. But I reassured her, I'll be safe, you know I can handle myself. She's always been the anxious type, but that's just one more reason to adore her. With a quick wave goodbye to Gracie, I headed out, my heart filled with anticipation for the beach. Upon reaching, I drew myself into a rhythm with the crashing waves under the moonlight. Getting lost in my thoughts while running and listening to my favorite audiobooks or music not only brings me pleasure, but also a much-needed break from the usual chaos. As I continued my run, my attention veered off from the beaten path. I found myself on an unfamiliar part of the beach, away from the comfort of houses and lights. While my mind was still consumed by the unfamiliar landscape, I tripped over something and fell. Pointing my flashlight to the ground, my heart throbbed in sheer terror. I had stumbled upon a half-buried skeleton, one amongst a row of many, half submerged in the sand. Terror-stricken, I bolted, feeling an unexplainable shiver down my spine. As I distanced myself from the terrifying sight, I felt an alarming tickle on the back of my neck, prompting me to glance back. My blood seemed to freeze as I caught sight of a mysterious, shadowy figure trailing me, matching my pace. With my heart threatening to leap out of my chest and adrenaline pumping through my veins, I mustered all my strength and made a dash toward a familiar part of the beach. Every glance back confirmed my worst fear. The figure was still there, just a few steps away. I managed to reach the nearest house and pounded on the door for help. Terror and confusion wreaking havoc in my mind. Luckily, the door swung open and I stumbled in, panting heavily, but when I turned back, the figure was gone. My terrified gaze met with a kind, elderly woman who was equally puzzled. I tried explaining my ordeal, but was too shaken to make sense. The kind old lady comforted me. "You're safe now, dear." But as my composure returned slowly, I was plagued with questions. Who was that shadowy figure that pursued me? Her sudden gasp tore my attention away from my thoughts. She was frozen, her eyes wide and her hand trembling on her chest. I spun around to find the same eerie, shadowy figure, its grotesque, inhumanely large golden eyes glaring back at us through the window. The sheer terror that followed is beyond words. The figure traced something on the glass window before disappearing into the night. The message left us stunned. It read, "Run with me again." The police were called, but they found no trace of the creature. I gave up my night beach runs after that incident, left with haunting images of the skeletons and the mysterious figure. I often wonder about it. Was it a desperate plea for companionship, or a sinister invitation to a deadly fate? That remains unknown, and I hope to never find out. Let me take you way back to when I was about 25, living in a coastal town, a neighborhood just 20 minutes away from a pristine beach. You could say the beach was my second home. I had been riding the waves even before I could form complete sentences. It was almost guaranteed to find a sprinkle of sand in my shoes, so tightly intertwined was I with the beach life. My companions in these adventures, let's call them Armand and Chuck, were lively souls who had an infectious love for life. As 18-year-olds, we were at the peak of our teenage years, obsessed with girls and the newfound freedom that came with our impending high school graduations. A particular Saturday night in late spring stood out. That's when senioritis hit us hard, and the euphoria over college acceptances made us feel invincible and fearless. Armand and I had planned a moonlit rendezvous with two of our classmates. Armed with blankets and some wine, we were all set for a peaceful night of stargazing on the beach. I was the one at the wheel. It was an irresponsible decision, I admit. We picked the girls up at around 9 in the evening, and their giggles and little dance toward my car were a clear indication of some pre-party drinking. Their bubbly demeanor had Armand and I exchanging knowing smiles. It was set to be a memorable night. The drive to the beach itself was pleasant, colored with laughter, lighthearted banter, and profound discussions. The secluded beach we picked was on a dirt path, its route leading to a clear sky that was ideal for our stargazing plan. After parking the car, we embarked on a small trek down a sandy path to reach our designated spot. Sure, the path was steep, but the promise of star-filled solitude was worth the trek. Fast forwarding through the routine of a beach hangout, let's move to the part where things took an unexpected twist. A few hours and an empty wine bottle later, Armand decided to take a walk with one of the girls, Fran, while Sophia and I moved in the opposite direction. As we lay under the vast sky, Sophia's sudden tension interrupted our conversation. She had heard an odd buzzing sound, one which I initially dismissed as her imagination. But as the sound persisted, I realized she was right. It was like the whirring of a small engine. A noise that inexplicably faded away after a while. I assured her it was nothing, and we went back to our evening. It was only when we spotted a drone later that we linked the two incidents. The realization that we had been watched invaded our evening, turning our jovial night into one of fear and tension. I found Sophia in tears, and we decided it was best to head back to the car. The unexpected turn of events had transformed our night from exciting to downright terrifying. When we reached the car, we found Armand and Fran already there. Despite my attempt to salvage the situation with some light conversations, the fear persisted, and the girls were too shaken to head home. As we mulled over the possibility of staying out late on a Saturday, we remembered Chuck, our friend with a spacious house and liberal parents. Upon reaching his house, the girls and Armand went inside while I stayed back. I needed a moment to process the events. In that silent moment of solitude, I discovered a chilling notification on my phone. AirTag found moving with you. An icy shiver ran down my spine. We were not only watched, but also tracked. After an exhaustive search, I found the AirTag taped to the underside of the car's tire well, an unsettling reminder of the evening's invasion of our privacy. I rushed inside the house to share the horrifying discovery with my friends, who checked their phones to find the same notification. The violation we felt was immense, and it wasn't long before reverberating fear replaced the initial shock. With the option to head home ruled out, we decided to spend the rest of the night at Chuck's house, finding solace in staying together. In the weeks that followed, the incident remained just a horrific memory. The only closure we could find was convincing ourselves that it was a one-time sick stunt, and thankfully, it didn't escalate. But it was a chilling reminder for us to always be cautious, even during our seemingly harmless beach escapades. As for the perpetrator, we may never know who it was or their motives, but one thing is for sure: that night at the beach proved to be more than just a simple outing. It left us with a lasting lesson on safety and awareness. It was 2016 to be exact, when during an unforgettable camping trip in my good old Trophy, which, just in case you're not from down under, is pretty similar to a Jeep. This tale takes place near the Detree area, as we celebrated my 21st birthday under the open Australian sky. You know, as the saying goes, life is a wave, catch it. My partner and I decided to head to Thornton Beach for an evening adventure. We thought, why not light up a joint to mark the occasion? In hindsight, it was not the wisest decision, considering the infamous crocs roaming around. This remote beach, a unique union of rainforest and sea, cradles a few structures in its southern tip, setting up the perfect atmosphere for our story. There we were, present by the tree line in the comforting shadows, basking in the moon's glow and indulging in conversations. As we were soaking in the serene ambience, suddenly the crunchy sound of breaking twigs and rustling leaves caught our attention. We instantly wheeled around, ready to face the mysterious source of this noise, while we retreated cautiously towards the beach. Seeing nothing, we figured it must have been a critter or bird. Brushing off our concerns, we decided to continue our beach outing a bit further down the coast. Just when we thought it was all behind us, barely a few moments later, a figure emerged from the rainforest exactly where we were sitting before. A man. His sudden appearance had us scurrying back to the camouflage of the shadows. What followed was rather odd. He took off his shirt and began frolicking in the shallow water, rolling about and soaking in the ocean. This spectacle lasted for about 5 minutes, and then he just stood there, facing the vast ocean, lost in thought, or so it seemed, for another 5 minutes. Expect the unexpected. The man turned our way and took a few steps forward. He stooped down and picked up what I could only imagine was a coconut. With an unknown object in his hand, his gaze fixated on us. My partner and I were on high alert, uncertain of his intent. We were pretty confident our shadows concealed us, but a sliver of doubt started to creep in. I could feel my partner reaching out for a good-sized stick, preparing for the worst and whispering a hasty plan to me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, about 3 to 5 minutes, the man decided to drop the coconut and return to the beach. Not before scanning our direction one last time, though, as he strayed back into the wilderness. We, on the other hand, were running back to the car faster than a kangaroo, eager to retreat from this unexpected encounter. Believe me, we reached our camping site in record time, our hearts pounding and minds reeling from the experience. We speculated that perhaps the man was facing the effects of ecstasy, heat, or even dehydration, hence his peculiar behavior in the water. But the truth is, we'll never really know. A few moons ago, I experienced something that left me so shaken, it took me weeks to gather the nerve to share it with others. I'm a military veteran, a battle-hardened soldier coping with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Having heard about the transformative power of cognitive behavioral therapy, I've been trying a multitude of techniques at home to mitigate my symptoms and control my anxiety. However, my attempts at peace are constantly disrupted. My wife and I live in a compact 2-bedroom flat on the ground floor, and our upstairs neighbor is an inconsiderate fellow whose overzealous workouts and constant talk about protein shakes and steamed rice make achieving tranquility a mission impossible. To escape this noise and find some solace, I capitalized on my insomnia and embarked on late-night walks. Living near the beach, I would immerse myself in the tranquil ambience of the ocean, walking on the sandy beach as the world remained fast asleep. Picture me there, bundled up in my coat and shoes, walking toward the hypnotic rhythm of the waves. Sounds serene, doesn't it? Each night, I would journey towards a deserted World War II artillery gun turret located at the edge of the beach, perched on a cliff. The infinite expanse of the midnight ocean, breaking only by the sporadic lighthouse beams, offered a getaway to unravel my thoughts and let the wave symphony soothe my nerves. One chilling night, my peaceful routine was shattered. I had just finished my self-reflection at the cliff and was seated on one of the remembrance benches near an old, abandoned pub when I spotted the beam of headlights. The moment the headlights illuminated me, they were abruptly switched off, and the car veered off the path. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, instincts kicked in, and I quickly hid behind the bench. The car, a shabby old Land Rover, sped past me, and to my disbelief, a silhouette perched on top of the car began scanning the surroundings with a scoped rifle. In that instant, time seemed to stand still. My military training forced me to lay low and stealthily crawl towards a safer location, offering better cover. I waited, my heart pounding in my chest until the armed person seemed distracted, and I seized the moment. Sprinting towards a nearby stone bus stop, I managed to escape their sight. Safe and out of sight, I dialed the police, and the response was swift and reliable. As I retold my story, the responding officers assured me an armed unit was on its way. The rain, which had started as a drizzle, was now a deluge, washing away my traces across the beach. I began my journey home and noticed halfway through a police helicopter encircling the area. Despite the relief, terror held me in its vice grip, the realization of the night's ordeal leaving me breathless. For days to come, nightmares of the incident haunted me, a reminder of the unseen dangers on home soil I had narrowly escaped. I later contacted the police for any follow-up on the incident. I learned that the perpetrators evaded the police, disappearing into the night. I am still oblivious if I was their target or whether they were hunting something else. This experience, though terrifying, reminds me that vigilance, an acquired trait from my military service, might just have saved my life that night. So I've resolved to continue my late-night walks, but with an added layer of caution and awareness. Because as I've found, our lives can change in the blink of an eye, and being prepared can make all the difference. So which of these stories struck a chord with you? Or perhaps you've experienced something similar or even more terrifying? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling content.